Alright guys, it's now time for another video response to one of coolduder's DVD collection videos, and this time it's gonna be for me talking about my favorite 90's comedies. And for this, it's just straightforward comedies. And once again, this is just like the 80's one. I didn't pick every single 90's comedy in my collection, but I picked out some that are in my favorites and some that you should all check out. Let's start with the DVDs. First one I picked is Beavis and Butthead Do America. This year is the 29th anniversary of when Beavis and Butthead came out on MTV, and next year will be their 30th. And the show is really funny, and this is a funny movie too. It's about Beavis and Butthead getting their TV stolen while trying to get it back to get pulled into a hotel by this criminal. And they were going to be paying him $1 million through his wife. Obviously, I don't know how much money it was, but I know it's like thousands of dollars to do his wife. So they go to Las Vegas where she's at, and then she boards a plane to Washington, D.C. And so Beavis and Butthead had to go all across America to try to find her and try to score, basically. It's what they call it. Very funny movie if you're a Beavis and Butthead fan like me. There's also a sequel, Beavis and Butthead Through the Universe, which streamed on Paramount Plus over a month ago, but I don't have Paramount Plus, so I'll have to wait for it when it comes out on DVD. And next one I picked here is Camp Nowhere. This is a funny summer camp movie. It stars Christopher Lloyd. It's about these kids who are going to camps that they're basically gonna predict their futures, like computer camp, science camp, military camp, those kind of things. And the kids don't like that, so they get Christopher Lloyd's character to secretly pull it off. There's like an abandoned camp that they go to, and they get Christopher Lloyd pull it off to make their own camp where there's no parents, no rules, no nothing. It's a really fun movie, and it stars Jonathan Jackson and Emmett Walsh and Thomas F. Wilson in this movie. And Thomas F. Wilson plays the police officer. He and Christopher Lloyd also star together in the Back to the Future trilogy, so this will be a good one to check out. I especially like the scene where one of the kids attempts to buy alcohol in the supermarket with a fake ID. And the next one I picked is the first movie to feature Target in it, which is basically a whole movie that just takes place in Target, and it's Career Opportunities. This is about Frank Wiley's character. Every time he had a job, he got fired at every single one of them. But then he attempts to get a job as a nighttime cleanup person at Target, and it's just him and there all by himself, and they turn all the lights off on him, but then he turns them all back on and screws around. And then he saw Jennifer Connelly, who ran away and basically hiding in the Target for a while, and he sorts of falls in love with her. But at the same time, there are these two burglars who have been attempting to rob the store, and they're holding them hostage. This is a really funny movie, another one I recommend. Next one I picked, like the very first time I saw this movie, I fell in love with it. I don't know, it's just really funny, and it's Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. This is about Christine Applegate's character, who thinks she's gonna have the best summer of her life. But she and her brothers and sister were all getting babysat while their mother goes on a business trip to Australia for 2 months. But then when the babysitter passes, they try to hide her, but then they found out she left her car behind, and now they have a car to go or wherever they want and do whatever they want. But then their car gets stolen, and the car had their money in it, so Christine Applegate's character had to get a job. But it's just a really funny movie. Definitely recommend this. Next one I picked, I think it's probably George's first movies, and I think it's one of Brendan Fraser's first movie too, and it's Asino Man. And this is from 1992, and I believe this is Pauly Shore's first movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this also stars Brendan Fraser, as I said, and Sean Astin. It's about these two high schoolers who are wanted to dig a pool because they want to have parties during their senior year of high school, but they find a caveman in ice, and the caveman's Brendan Fraser, and they put him in the garage, stalled out, and when he comes out, they clean him up and take him to school with them, and Brendan Fraser becomes the most popular kid in school. It's a really funny movie. I like this. If you want a good teen comedy from the 90s, this will be a good one, as well as Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And the next one is the first Ernest movie from the 90s, and it's Ernest Goes to Jail. Ernest works as a custodian at the bank, but ends up making a mess there while daydreaming about becoming a clerk one day. And Barbara Tyson's character needs him to clean the disastrous mess he made, and also invites him out to dinner. And during the jail tour, Ernest gets kidnapped by a death row inmate and Randall Craig Cobb's character, and forced to switch places with him. I already talked about Ernest Goes to Camp on my favorite 80s comedies, and I also have Ernest Scared Stupid and Ernest Saves Christmas, but I'll talk about those later on when time comes. And the next one is the Nickelodeon film. There's two Nickelodeon films I'm going to show in this video, and the first one here is Good Burger. Of course, this is based off of the infamous sketch performed on a kid's show, All That, which stars Kenan and Kel, and I love this movie too. The first time I saw it, and this is another movie where the first time I fell in love with it like immediately. Really funny movie. Sinbad is also in this movie, as well as Abe Vigoda. Kind of a weird casting choice. I don't know what to say about Abe Vigoda being in this movie. I mean, if you want to be in this movie, I could understand, but it's just kind of a weird film choice for him. Even though Abe Vigoda passed away 6 years ago, but he's a great actor, and it was a kind of weird film choice for him. And next stars Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop. Everyone's familiar with this movie if you're an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. This is about Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tamela Reed go all the way out to Oregon to find the mother and son of the killer that Schwarzenegger was tracking down for years. And in order to do that, Arnold Schwarzenegger goes undercover as a substitute kindergarten teacher for all these pain in the ass kids, and him dealing with them. And all the kids fall in love with them and want them to be their permanent teacher. And this is one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's funniest films when it comes to him doing comedies. And next is Leave It to Beaver from 1997. This is basically satirizing the show from the 50s and 60s, but it's set in the 90s. And I'm not sure if very many people have seen this movie, but it's pretty funny. It's about Beaver getting a bike for his birthday, and then, like, after the first day of school, a bully comes along and he's doing all these bike tricks, showing off, and he ends up stealing Beaver's bike. And Beaver has a hard time getting it back, and this is a really fun movie if you guys haven't seen it. And next two are the Problem Child films, Problem Child 1 and 2. There's also a third film, Problem Child 3, Junior Love, but I know that this one's only released in the UK, and that's the reason why I don't have it. But they need to bring it here to America, because I saw that movie and it was just alright. A lot of people hated it. Only 2 actors returned for that one, but the first 2 Problem Child films are definitely ones worth checking out. When it comes to genre movies, these are definitely my favorites, but I know a lot of people hate these movies with a vengeance, but I really love them. And next is South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which is the movie Trey Parker and Matt Stone did 2 years after the show came out. Both the show and the movie are hilarious. If you're a South Park fan, you definitely gotta check this one out. And the next one stars two of the best comedians from Saturday Night Live. Chris Farley and David Spade did two together, but I'm only showing one, and it's Tommy Boy. They did this in Black Sheep, but Black Sheep I haven't even watched yet, but I don't plan to at some point. This is about Chris Farley's father who is getting remarried, but after the wedding he passes away. He ran an all-parts business that was family owned, so Chris Farley had to take over the company and the business was going to shut down. But unless he could sell enough of the book of these brake pads, he could keep the business open. And this is another great movie. I watched this very recently and I got a kick out of it. That's it for the DVDs. Now for the VHS tapes. Next one is one of the few Adam Sandler films I'm going to include in this collection, and it's Big Daddy, and which is, in my opinion, it's one of Adam Sandler's best movies. I know a lot of people really hate Adam Sandler these days, but I like him. I don't have a problem with him. He's one of my favorite comedians growing up, and he still is today. But this is about Adam Sandler, who is an irresponsible adult who doesn't have like a very well-paid job, and one day a 5-year-old kid shows up at his doorstep and he doesn't know what to do with him. He tries calling child services to take care of him, but they're taking a really long time to get back to him, so he has to take care of the kid himself, and then he falls in love with him and decides that he wants to adopt him and his son. And yeah, this is another Adam Sandler movie, probably in my top 5. And then next is another Adam Sandler comedy. I just talked about Big Daddy previously. So the next one I'm about to talk about is Billy Madison, which is definitely one of the best Adam Sandler movies ever. And this was about Adam Sandler's character who has no job and no future. Like, basically, he's nothing but a slacker, and when his father announced that he's retiring and he's going to hand over his Fortune 500 company to a guy that Adam Sandler doesn't like, he gets raged about that because Adam Sandler gets breached about that because he was going to be the one to take over the company in the first place. And the reason why he didn't do it because he didn't do very well in school. He graduated, and so he decides that he's going to go back to school and go through first grade through 12th grade and all over again. And if he passes all the grades by a certain time, then he gets to take over the company. It's a really funny movie. It's my favorite Adam Sandler movie next to Little Nicky. I know a lot of people give Little Nicky a lot of crap, but I enjoyed it a lot. And the next one stars Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels, and Dumb and Dumber. Everybody's familiar with this movie, I'm sure. They've either seen it or at least heard of it. And the next one I picked is Steve Martin comedy, Father of the Bride. There's also Father of the Bride Part 2 from 1995, but I saw it and it wasn't as good. This one is a really awesome movie. I think it's one of Steve Martin's best. Let me make this a neat set before we move on to the next tape. And then the next one I picked is the Flintstones live action movie from 1994. I know a lot of people really hated this movie, but I liked it. It was a childhood favorite of mine. It's basically about Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble who work at Slayton Company, and when they find out about an executive placement program, they take an aptitude test, and Barney got the highest score and Fred got the lowest score. But Barney switches the test around, so Fred is mistaken for a vice president of Slayton Company, and then Fred and Barney became enemies, and this is one to check out. If you like the original show, then you should check out the live action movie. It's pretty similar. And then, next up is Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. This is the sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I thought this was just funnier than the first. Next one I picked is another satirization of an old TV series, but almost everybody's familiar with this. And it's a Little Rascals movie from 1994. This movie had a lot of child actors, and a lot of them never did anything else. Didn't do much of anything else. I don't know if any of them are still acting. I don't know if any of them are still acting anymore, but I know a lot of people. Wait, this movie had a lot of child actors, and a lot of them never did anything else or didn't do much or anything else. I don't know if any of them are still acting anymore, but I know a lot of people have talked about this. And this was one of the most family films from 1994, especially with the I Got a Dollar scene. After this movie came out, everybody was quoting that line. And the next one I'd say is my all-time favorite Robin Williams movie, and it's Mrs. Doubtfire. It also stars Sally Field as Robin Williams' wife. It's about him and his wife getting divorced, and he doesn't want to be around, and she doesn't want him to be around the kids very much because she doesn't believe he's very good at taking care of them, so he's only allowed to see him once a week on Saturdays. But then when Robin Williams finds out that Seinfeld's when Robin Williams finds out that Seinfeld places an ad for a housekeeper, he dresses up like a woman as a housekeeper, Mrs. Doubtfire, so he can be with his kids more, and he has a basic job and a basic career. It's a really funny movie. And a lot of people, as far as I'm concerned, say Mrs. Big Mama's House was a ripoff from this movie, but I don't think it is. But Big Mama's House is a funny movie too. This is awesome. And I'm pretty sure everybody has that film on their all-time favorite Robin Williams movies. I really miss Robin Williams. I really do. And next one I picked was the Nutty Professor remake with Eddie Murphy from 1996, and this is a funny remake, especially like the Hercules scene at the dinner table, and I especially like the part where everybody was partying at the dinner table. Man, that part's a riot. Excuse me. And next one is another Pauly Shore comedy. I already talked about in Asino Man when I showed you my DVDs. This is Son-in-Law, which is probably the best comedy he ever did. I also have the in the Army Now on DVD, although I haven't seen that yet. But this I have seen before, and I really get a kick out of seeing this movie. But it's about Claudia Gugino, who just graduated high school and was going to college. But then when Thanksgiving comes around, she returns home and Pauly Shore asks if he wanted to go with her because he hadn't known where to go to Thanksgiving, and he went with her, and when he gets there, they all believed that they were engaged and they were about to get married. It's a really funny movie. I got a kick out of this movie the first time I saw it. And the next one I picked is the last movie from the Vacation series, which is my least favorite, but I still like it, and it's Vegas Vacation. It's about the Griswolds going to Las Vegas and they run into Cousin Eddie's family who's living there. Yeah, have you all seen all National Lampoon's vacation movies? They're all good in my opinion. This one's my least favorite though, but I still enjoy it. Still funny for what it was. The very first vacation movie's the best, but this one's not too bad. Apparently Wayne Newton and Wallace Shawn are in this movie too. Well, Shawn plays the blackjack dealer. Next two I picked up are both the Waynesville films 1 and 2. The first one is from 1992, the second one's from 1993, and they're both based on a Saturday Night Live sketch. And I can't really decide which one's my favorite. I equally like them both because they're just awesome films. And next stars Boomerang and Rich Dreyfuss and What About Bob, which I have to say this is one of my favorite Boomerang movies, but this isn't my all-time favorite out of them. But it's still my favorite nevertheless. It's about Richard Dreyfuss playing this therapist who's about to go on a vacation with his family for Thanksgiving, and Boomerang has problems of everything and follows him on a trip and tries to find out where he's staying, and when he gets there, he becomes a real pain in the ass to Richard Dreyfuss and his family. This is another funny movie. I have no idea what my favorite part of this movie is. There's a lot of funny parts in this movie. Can't tell you which one's my favorite. And then the next one is a Disney comedy, and it's Blank Check, and it's from 1994, and it's about this kid who didn't get very much money for his birthday, and when he can't deposit his money in the bank, like when he goes on a trip to the bank to try to deposit it, he can't do it, and then when he's trying to get out of the bank, his bike gets ruined by this criminal, and he gives him the check and forgets to write off the amount. When the kid realizes it's a blank check, he writes for $1 million and runs away. And for some reason, with the amount of stuff that he was buying, I don't think it's worth $1 million. Like, he buys a castle, he buys water slides, he buys a racetrack, a sumo wrestling set, a virtual reality gaming set, etc. In real life, you wouldn't get that much for $1 million. I mean, it's just not possible with the way the economy is these days. And the next one is another Disney comedy which stars Sinbad, and I think this is one of the Sinbad's best movies, and it's First Kid. This is the same kid who's in the first two My Ducks movies, but this is about the president's son who is followed around by being stalked by these Secret Service agents, but the kid doesn't like the way he lives his life in the White House, being followed by all those agents, and he's really frustrated because he's living them all in the White House his life, which he likes living them all in the White House his life, which is not very stable, and all he wants is to be just a regular kid like everybody else. But this is another funny film, and also he goes to high school, he has a crush on this girl. This is another fun Disney comedy. Even though I'm not really big on politics, it's still a really funny comedy starring one of my favorite comedians, Sinbad, who hasn't really been doing much in years, but hopefully he'll come back to doing a bit more. Next one is the first theatrical film made by Nickelodeon Movies, and it's Harriet the Spy. And this is the VHS that includes two Rugrats music videos. One being the Rugrats rap at the beginning, and the other, when the movie is over, is the Rugrats rock music video. And it also stars Rosie O'Donnell as Michelle Trachtenberg. It's about this girl who wants to become a writer when she grows up, and in order to do that, she spies on everyone and everything, and she writes everything down, and then when her friends find out about it, they all betray her. And this movie is just for family comedy, both itself and from Nickelodeon movies. I mean, it's really mean-spirited. I don't know why, but I think it's that the fact that Harriet betrayed her friends, and they were all getting her back for what she did and what she did. This is a fun movie, and but it's just really mean-spirited. I don't know why. I just explained it. I don't know why they got mean-spirited, other than the fact that Harriet betrayed her friends. And then the next one I picked is one I found in the other films of the trilogy. It's Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. When the parents got shrunken down, a lot of people hated that one, but I thought it was just okay because I saw it more times than the other films in the series, but it's still at its moments. Still a few okay parts to it. And the next one is one of the very few family-friendly things that Chevy Chase did. I know he's done quite a few family-friendly things, but this also stars Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Man of the House. Also starring Farrah Fawcett and George Wendt, but this is basically about Jonathan Taylor Thomas. It's just been him living with his mom for most of his life because his dad left, and then his mom, Farrah Fawcett, met Chevy Chase's character, who is a lawyer, and they end up getting engaged to each other. And Chevy Chase moves in with them, and in order for Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Chevy Chase to get to know each other a little better, they joined the YMCA in Indian Guides, and they just ended up falling in love with that program, and the two are having a good relationship with each other because Chase wants to marry Thomas's mother, and before they even joined the YMCA Indian Guides, Jonathan Taylor Thomas was trying to get rid of Chevy Chase's character. But this is another really funny film. And the last one I could talk about is directed by Gore Verbinski, who is mostly famous for directing the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and I didn't like those very much, but actually I do like the Pirates of the Caribbean films. They're pretty okay. I do like the Pirates of the Caribbean roller coaster better than a little better in the films. And this is Mouse Hunt from 1997, which stars Nathan Lane and Lee Evans. Lee Evans didn't do many films. He also did There's Something About Mary, as well as The Fifth Element. This is about Nathan Lane and Lee Evans, who are brothers, and their father just passed away, and they inherit this really old house that belongs to their father. And they find out that this architectural design and its major worth like millions of dollars, and they all want to sell it for their money. But the only problem is that there's the pain in the ass mouse that just crawling through everything and just being really stupid for everything. And no matter how many times they try to kill the mouse, it fails miserably. They tried setting up a bunch of traps that didn't work. They tried calling it the exterminator. That didn't work either. They tried to get a cat. Apparently nothing worked for them. So pretty much no matter how many times they were trying to kill it, they wouldn't succeed in doing it. But this is like one of the funniest family comedies in the 1990s, and if not the funniest. It's basically like a Tom and Jerry and Home Alone in a way. As always, guys, that's going to do it for me talking about my favorite 90s comedies. If you like the video, please be sure to share, subscribe, comment, and click the post notification bell. This video is now adjourned.